your first animated short in 2016, which won many awards, including Best Animation in LA Shorts, and even qualified for the Oscars. So tell me about how you got into animation, and when you get such kind of recognition, what does that make you feel?
I got into animation primarily during my college. I was studying engineering in BITS Pilani, and my father was from theater background, so I used to see a lot of plays and everything. I used to read a lot of literature, and when I started dabbling with theater myself, I thought this is a great medium, but I have these ideas for stage plays which are a bit wilder, which might not find place in live action films. And that is when I stumbled upon some short films online. Specifically, there was this film called Bingo by
Mhm.
a Canadian animator called Chris Landreth. And that was a perfect combination of surreal animation, which was also kind of a stage play, also kind of a psychological literature, fiction, whatever you call it. And that is when I thought, okay, this is a perfect medium. I should try to learn it. And then I started my journey of learning animation for a long time. And I did work in different studios in different countries, but I always wanted to make films. So I came back to India and I started working on my own short film, which I thought would be my own artistic expression.
Yeah.
But then, of course, making a short film all by yourself is a very daunting task. So my wife co-produced the film with me. She said, "Okay, you do your thing. I will support you," which was amazing, which is something I'm very blessed with. And we did the short film, and I had no idea what to do with the short film. There were some people online who were saying we should upload it online right away. Some people were saying we should take it to the festivals. And I chose the festival route, and it kind of just exploded there. It just went to so many festivals. It became one of the rarest Indian short films to qualify for the Oscars. And most importantly, it won the Best in Show award at SIGGRAPH Asia, which is like a technical, award, which was really dear to me. So from there, I first initially, of course, it was really overwhelming for me and my wife because I did that in like the bedroom of my house, really, with a single computer. So it was really, really a small production. But when it made it so big, I thought, okay, I can probably take the next leap, which could be feature animation. So first it was overwhelming, but then it became a stepping stone for my next leap in a long format. So yeah, there's a very quick brief of that journey.
But it looks very interesting. So I wanted you to elaborate on that universe and that you've created, and also where that inspiration comes from, and like what kind of animation style do you like to use specifically?
Okay, so for me, it's always something which is larger than life, or something which is a kind of an absurd or a surreal reflection of who we are, kind of, a parallel reflection. That is how I started. So I started my career in Singapore. I was working in an animation studio there, and I used to take the train to my office every day. It was like a 45-minute journey. And I used to just draw in my sketchbook whatever I used to see. Most of the time, it was just different gestures of people who were sitting in the front seat or who were standing or who were glued to their phones. And after a few months, I realized that most of my drawings were looking the same. And the reason was that everyone was just, really glum, sad, glued to their screen all the time. It was always the same thing. And I realized that I'm not so different. I'm always, looking down on my sketchbook myself. And I thought, maybe I should not spend so much time in making the faces of the people. And I started replacing the faces with a simple paper bag. Uh, and as I drew more of those drawings, I realized that it's actually a very cool idea, not just visually, but it also represents that we are all losing our individuality in some way or the other. We all look the same. We are all part of the same churn and this and that. And from there, I started elaborating that idea, that what is the place of a person in a society, how does society take over, and if an individual becomes too overpowering, how an individual takes over the society. And it's like a cyclical battle which has been going on for centuries. And yeah, then I just kept expanding on it, and then that is what became of Shirkoa.
2023, you directed for Star Wars, like Visions Volume 2, I'm assuming. So,
Correct.
yeah,
Vision
I
Volume
wanted
2.
to, because Star Wars is a well-established universe. How did you feel stepping into that role? Because that's the question I want to bring in also with Bahubali.
Yeah, right. I mean, that was huge. That was definitely something really, really big. And at first, me and Milind, my producer on that show, we both were pitching for it because Lucasfilms wanted to, explore all the different studios and cultures of the world. And they asked them that if you want to chip in, you can pitch your idea, and if you like it, we will, include it in the anthology series. And it was a dream, of course. So when I pitched it, I was just trying to bring all the things that makes our culture really strong, like, the colors, the very maximalist filmmaking, the action, the music, everything. And I just did that colorful pitch, and everyone was really impressed by it. And then it became a beautiful journey of, infusing the mythology of Star Wars and then juxtaposing it over Indian culture. So that was really, really, I mean, it was one of the things which was really satisfying for me as an artist, because we all grew up on Star Wars. Star Wars is something we all grew up with. We read it, we watch it, and we always want to uh, just play with it in some way or the other. And I got a chance to play with the Star Wars characters and make them very Indian. So I was very humbled by the project.
So, how does it feel like stepping into the Bahubali universe? It is very, very loved, obviously, across pan India. So, how does that feel? And specifically with your film, how is it going to fit into this sort of already created universe? Because Epic just came out and it's the remastered version. So, yeah, where does your film lie? And of course, your PR was telling me there's some questions you might not want to answer. So, just let me know. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I just don't want to go into the
Yeah, yeah, of
spoiler
course.
territory
Yeah.
so early on. That's all. So basically, it's very, very humbling, of course, the whole idea, because when I pitched that idea, I knew that, again, the way I make films, the way I think, it's always something which is larger than life, which is a reflection of who we are and all those things. And I thought cosmology, specifically the Vedic cosmology in our Indian culture, was a perfect place to take the Bahubali live action films and really bring on all the, freedom that cosmology can give you in terms of, how much we can accomplish in these different worlds, because the rules of these worlds in the cosmology are so different. And I felt that justifying the use of animation was perfect in it, because there is only so much you can do in live action. And if you do too much, it becomes a bit too, cartoony sometimes. But I could really take a leap in animation, and it would all make sense if I even bend the rules of the world a little bit. So for me, it made sense, but of course, it had to make sense for Shobu and Rajamouli sir. So I pitched it to them, and I was like, okay, I was waiting, like, okay, how will that go? And they were really, really excited about it, which was a huge relief for me. And they also felt that this is the best way to continue Bahubali's journey, and not just really, over just making a sequel or a prequel for the sake of it. It really feels like the most organic progression of his story. So when they cleared it up, and then I was like, okay, now I can go free, and I just got a really good stream of artists, and we started working, and then it all made sense.
A lot of these clips, they look very different from the parts of the short film that I watched. Like the animation style looks very different. It reminds me a little of maybe to some extent like Spider-Verse, but not exactly. Like, what was the idea behind making this more 2D?
Hmm. I mean, I think we have reached that point in animation in which, realistic animation is just becoming a little bit mundane and boring. We have seen it all. We have seen realistic graphics and visual effects, video games, and everything. And now we want less visual fidelity. We want something which is a little bit more graphic. We want a little bit, artistic touch in every frame. So when we try to achieve realism in computer graphics or computer animation, it becomes a little bit mechanical in terms of its look. So that is something which I try to do individually in my short films. I always wanted to have outlines or painterly effects. And then, of course, when the Spider-Verse came out, it kind of opened the world to the movies because it was just loved so much. And people started really reacting to it in a very positive way. That was beautiful. And I thought that that is a perfect, way to show this story as well, because I don't think it makes sense when we are going to these different worlds in cosmology, in Indian cosmology. It doesn't make sense to show photorealism. The action we are going for is stylized. It's very much manga like almost. It's over the top, but it makes sense in that world. So it doesn't make sense to make things realistic looking as well. So we are going for a very graphic look, something which pops out of a comic book or pops out of from a concept art. So yeah, that's like a painterly 3D animated look that we're going for.
I'm thinking about the animation was very beautiful. But yeah, so I wanted to ask you, so at least from my side, the most like Indian animation I've seen, like I started with what Chota Bheem, I think, and then I haven't seen like, animation specifically gain this kind of momentum. So what do you think of the future of animation in India? And do you think it's a niche part of Indian filmmaking? And also with a project like Bahubali, it's a very, very commercial thing. So for it to be in India, what do you feel about that?
So it has been a niche part of India for a long time. I'm talking about animation feature films in India.
Yeah.
So they're very, very rare, right? Every year we probably see one or not at all coming from like an indie filmmaker, and that's that. It does the festival run, and that is that. Nothing happens beyond that. But I think what's happening is in past 4 or 5 years, specifically during COVID and after it, we've seen a surge of fans who are, turning on, going to Crunchyroll, reading a lot of manga, watching a lot of anime, watching a lot of, the animations made from different parts of the world. And I think that is really, really interesting, which means people are yearning for stories made in animation from India. It's just we just don't have enough of them being made. And I
Mhm.
think the recent movie, the Mahavatar Narsimha that came out,
Yeah, I was
the
gonna
show
ask.
Netflix that came out, I think they are just proving that
Mhm.
people want more and more of such long format animations made for theater, so that they can go and really enjoy the spectacle. So I think it's a very interesting time, because I also know that apart from these mainstream animations, there is also a surge of independent animation filmmakers in India, and who are making feature films for festivals. And I think they're going to gain global attention in that world as well. So I think there are two movements going on right now in parallel, one the mainstream one and one the independent one, which means it's a very good time for Indian animation. I think in next 4 or 5 years, we'll see a lot of these surge in both independent and mainstream works, which is fantastic.
You mentioned the generations that read mangas and like watch animes. I am one of those people, but I think that's more a younger demographic. So, with your film, what kind of audience are you aiming towards? Because I also think with the entire Bahubali franchise, it's always been aimed towards all age groups. So, do you think animation might limit it, or do you think it will really be accepted?
I feel it will be accepted because, to be honest, the way we are writing and making it, first and foremost, we are making it for Bahubali fans. That's the most important thing. If they are happy, then we are happy. That's the most important thing for us. So, Bahubali fans is the number one, demographic for us, and that I feel covers all age groups. And of course, then there is a second layer, which is the animation fans in India and of course overseas, who love to watch a visual spectacle, and who love to watch a very stylized animation and action mixed with high emotions. So I think those are the two demographics we are really aiming for, which I think kind of covers a lot of people.
It's labeled part one. Do you plan on making this in like a series or a trilogy kind of? Like how many films do you plan with it?
So right now we have two films planned already. So this is like the first part of that story, and then there is a second part which is written, but it will go in production in parallel sometime. But for now, it's two parts.